Real Madrid, Manchester City. The confrontation in 4 words: relational football versus positional. Non-tactical plot, Madrid has an advantage in terms of preparation. The last match in La Liga for Real was at the end of March. There was already a gap, so rotation could be allowed. The story is different for City now. They play every 3 days without the right to make mistakes. Pep allocates weekends to attacking leaders, but most of the squad plays without substitutions. What will outweigh the playing rhythm, which is currently better for City, or the rest that Madrid received? What will Real be like? The last and only time Madrid lost in regular time was at the end of September. Not bad for a team that has been playing the entire season without its main goalkeeper, at some point lost its main defensive pair, and uses a formation without a pure forward. Respect to Carlo Ancelotti for solving every quest encountered along the way. Tactical adaptations and contributions from secondary players helped smooth the journey. Carlo fixed the problems of the new diamond formation during the season, and the substitutes learned to replace the leaders. Primarily, this concerns Andre Lunin, who replaces Courtois, Brahim Diaz, stepping into Bellingham's position, and Joselu, filling the vacant column. At the beginning of spring, problems began to emerge for Madrid, but a mini crisis of 2 games without a win, yes, that's the crisis, is already behind. The only doubt arises about Bellingham's form, who scored only in 2 matches this year, and for various reasons was dropped from the squad. In contrast to this, the brilliance of Vinicius. Now the Brazilian carries the team even when the rest of the team struggles. What will Man City be like? City enters the quarterfinals with an impressive streak of 25 games unbeaten. In a regular season, it would mean a frightening form and stability with the squad, but not now. Pep still doesn't have a combination he would rely on in the playoffs. There are too many injuries in defense, too many experiments in midfield, and too many players in attack, suffering from a form slump. There are even questions about the goalkeeper position. In the last matches, it was not Ederson who played, but the backup Ortega. The key task for Pep before the decisive stretch is to get the team ready. The solution depends on a bunch of variables: whether Stones can regain form, how to position Foden and De Bruyne on the field, whether Haaland will start scoring. There is also a local issue specifically against Madrid: who will replace Kyle Walker if he fails to cope with Vinicius. The X-factor Pep can always rely on is Rodri, who is heading for the golden ball. The Spaniard hasn't lost for over a year, both at the club and in the national team, and this is without his usual partners from last season. Matches against Madrid might be the most serious challenge for the wonder midfielder and his wonder stats. Arsenal, Bayern Munich. The confrontation in 4 words: searching for identity against versatility. Non-tactical subplot. 10 years ago, Serge Gnabry came on as a substitute against Bayern Munich instead of Mikel Arteta. Mikel then helped young players a lot. He guided us, always gave good advice, tried to direct us, and showed us a lot by his example, Serge recalled. Now Arteta does all of this as head coach, while Gnabry returns to London as a player for Bayern Munich. What will Arsenal be like? It could be different. This is the club's strength. It has been particularly accentuated in recent weeks. Luton Town coach Rob Edwards put it succinctly: of the 3 title contenders, Arsenal is the team that can play any game, with a focus on physicality, with a focus on football, with a focus on running. They find an answer to any type of test. Arsenal easily switches modes, and now we know that even when parking the bus, the team doesn't lose quality or confidence at all. This might not be useful in London against Bayern Munich, but Arteta's team's versatility is staggering. In terms of squad composition, it's reasonable to expect a classic setup from Arsenal for the top matches of this season, with a more compact midfield, roughly with 2 defensive midfielders. Currently, Jorginho and Declan Rice are in the best form for these tasks, but Thomas Partey is also in line. One of the techniques acquired in recent weeks could be particularly useful. Gabby Jesus now plays on the left flank, sometimes as a hidden left back. Bayern Munich typically attacks from the right flank with Kimmich as the attacking full back, a key threat in recent matches. If the visitors engage in full pressure mode, Jesus' assistance will be very appropriate. Most likely, in the home match, Arsenal will fight for initiative, meaning building short attacks and pressing high. Everything will depend on the course of the game and the capabilities of Bayern Munich. In the case of an early goal or a sudden stroke of genius from Tuchel's plan, Arteta's team is ready to change gears. In their range, pressing with quick counterattacks coexists with counterattacking football, in which forward runs from Kai Havertz help in the attack. The main thing is for the tactical chameleon not to get confused. What will Bayern Munich be like? In Bayern Munich's crisis season, there were two flashes. The first one was in the autumn, when it seemed that Tuchel had assembled a worthy quality counterattacking machine with Kane and Sane in the lead roles. Leroy was the brightest player and the link in fast attacks. The second one was at the beginning of spring with a new possession structure. Recognizable features: Goretzka as the left central defender, Kimmich on the right flank, a 3-1-4-2 setup. Positional attacks improved temporarily, but the shortcomings gradually surfaced. Stability was not achieved in any of these very different modes. Hence, it's difficult to predict Tuchel's plan. Perhaps he won't rely on old experience and will come up with something completely new. For now, a return to the autumn counterattacks, perhaps with some adaptations for Arsenal, looks more logical. In any other season in the last 10 years, the question of initiative would hardly arise, but now it makes sense for Bayern Munich to hand it over to their opponent. In the center of defense, either players without top-notch passes or Upamecano, who particularly struggles in the Champions League. In terms of squad, Bayern Munich is most dangerous in space, Tuchel's factor. This season, there have been many matches where Bayern Munich needed to hold on to the result. Instead of defending through control, Thomas released additional defensive players. The away status of the first match. Overall, the matches are unlikely to be static. Roles may change. Dynamics will be closely tied to chronology. Who scores first is important, but slightly more initiative is expected from Arsenal. PSG Barcelona. The confrontation in 3 words. Battle for possession. Non-tactical subplot. Luis Enrique against Barcelona is, of course, a tactical duel. Coach against alma mater, but tactics are just one aspect. Enrique won the treble with Barcelona and had one of the best seasons in the club's history. By the way, in the quarterfinals of the triumphant Champions League, he defeated Laurent Blanc's PSG 5-1. Since Enrique won the Champions League with Barcelona, neither the Catalans, nor PSG, nor Enrique have won the trophy. What will PSG be like? PSG will definitely not be a robotic team, as it was at the start of the season. Against Real Sociedad, Enrique showed that he can be a subtle tactician, moving Ousmane Dembele to the center of the field to break the opponent's press. Top-notch. Enrique has many experiments. Perhaps the idea with Dembele is the most successful. Many others looked clearly below average. Achraf Hakimi, a central defender in a back 3. Hakimi, a center forward, playing without forwards even with Kylian Mbappe and Randal Kolo Muani on the field, playing along the sideline, and even earlier Warren Zaire-Emery as a false fullback, Carlos Soler as a false fullback, Vitinha as a left forward during possession. And this is not the entire list. PSG will want to dominate possession, sharpen through Dembele, seek out Mbappe, and aggressively press without the ball. This PSG still seems far from the strongest in recent history, but it's pleasing how collectively capable Enrique's PSG is at squeezing out results. PSG has always been flashy but not always diligent. This PSG knows how to work hard. What will Barcelona be like? Barcelona approaches PSG in good form, but it's important to remember this is a young, inexperienced team, many of whom have not played at such a high Champions League stage. Coach Xavi also cannot boast of experience. A synonym for Barcelona is efficiency, just like last season. The qualities are not always enough. Sometimes it's just unlucky. Injuries hinder, but Xavi adapts subtly. Perhaps he has devised an interesting plan against Parisians. He plays with a 4-2-3-1 formation with Fermin Lopez under Lewandowski. One way to neutralize Ousmane Dembele. Lewandowski's form is another intrigue. It seems Robert is back in shape for the first time this season. His interaction with Gundogan has become more effective, flank shifts more useful. The Pole is not as good as before, but he is one of those in Barcelona who can decide an episode. Atletico Borussia. The confrontation in 7 words. Simeone against Terzic with Simeone's blueprints. Non-tactical subplot. The emotional charge of Atletico. It seems Atletico got lucky with the draw. All the favorites are in the other half of the bracket. Among those who are clearly stronger, only PSG. Simeone is a master of the playoffs, capable of defeating anyone. The Champions League final has not been so close for a long time. Against the backdrop of a strange performance in La Liga and an upsetting exit from the Copa del Rey, this could be a chance to salvage the season. What will Atletico be like? Atletico is perhaps the most mysterious participant in the playoffs. They beat Inter but falter against Cadiz and Barcelona. They struggled against Villarreal. Predicting how Simeone's team will play is unrealistic. Consistent, the starting formation is 5-3-2. With the ball, Atletico switches to 3-3-4. The fullbacks essentially become wingers. One of the tricks is the position of Samuel Lino, winger, occasionally central midfielder, while Rodrigo Riquelme plays on the flank. This duo is almost the main instrument in attack right now. Atletico lacks proper defenders. The main one is Axel Witsel, a nominal defensive midfielder. But when Mario Hermoso is absent, things look bleak. He can be replaced by Renildo, strong in defense, weak in progression. Hermoso is irreplaceable in this regard. A positive note, it seems Antoine Griezmann is back in optimal form. What will Borussia be like? Dortmund is transforming again after the new year. Weak autumn, strong spring. The formula is relevant for the second season in a row. In both cases, progress is associated with the development of positional attack. Last season, the peak of Emre Can, top form of Jude Bellingham, Julian Brandt, and Rafael Guerreiro, the most creative players in possession, coincided. Daniel Malen and Karim Adeyemi were fantastic on the flanks, and Sebastian Aller both scored and assisted. This season, the main factor of transformation seems to be the loan of left-back Ian Maatsen from Chelsea. Dortmund's 4-2-3-1 without the ball transitions to 3-2-4-1 in possession. Emre Can drops to the third center back. Maatsen becomes a playmaking midfielder. Only the central defenders of Dortmund pass less frequently than Maatsen. Without his presence, the structure of positional attacks would not work. Rafael Guerreiro, the main left back in the first half of the season, is clearly weaker on the ball. Maatsen's long passes are particularly impressive, accurate and strong. He can execute them even while running. In 2024, Malen finishing quality, Niklas Füllkrug assisting, and Marcel Sabitzer helping Dortmund play the ball out, then joining the attack as an additional player in the final third, clearly improved. Due to Sabitzer's mobility, Dortmund seems to be playing in the majority. Let's also mention Mats Hummels. An uneven season, but in many important matches he seemed to regain his peak form against Bayern in the second leg of the round of 16 against PSV, in the autumn against Milan when Dortmund secured a place in the playoffs. What's concerning? Edin Terzic's excessive caution, prolonged phases without possession, and Maatsen's defensive role. He's not strong as a defender.